Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Toomer Talk Show. I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am a family medicine and community health physician. I'm the founder of Total Weight Care Institute, as well as Your Light Wellness and Weight Care Medical Group that provides telemedicine, weight care all across the country. So if anyone's interested, you can go to my Linktree or my website and you can find the link so that you can fill out an application. The other is also subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you are interested in this topic in this video, and there are many others, I think over 200 videos. So if if you'd like to see more, or you'd like to know when I post, subscribe. And that's youtube.com at Dr. Toomer. And also I'm on Facebook as Dr. Toomer. I'm on TikTok as Dr. Toomer Talks. So please say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I say hello to Cindy from New Mexico, Marsha from Barbados. Thank you for coming in. And if you're watching later, put in hashtag replay and then tell me where you're watching from there. So, as many of you know, I have been someone who has very vocal about weight health. I'm very vocal about the pros and cons, the lies, the truths, the big, the bad, the ugly, as they say. I myself have lost over 100 pounds. I did not lose it all at once. I've lost it over the years. Most of it 25 years ago, then more about 10 years ago, and then the last bit about within the last 3 years. And during that time, as I've lost my weight, I've never gained it back. And mainly because I just didn't follow the rules. The rules of what we were told is how you're supposed to lose weight. And the truth is, those rules, if I had followed those rules, I would have gained probably, or wouldn't have been able to keep it off. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those lies that we've been told about weight loss, and then I'll tell you the truth. So number one, the first lie that we're always being told is the best way to lose weight is to eat less, exercise more. And that works for many people, but only if, one, they're doing the correct exercise, two, they're eating less of the foods that's causing them to gain weight. It's not the calories, it is the type of food. And then three, if they're doing exercise that is suited to their body. So example, yes, if you eat less or eat fewer carbs, then absolutely. If you just eat fewer calories, not necessarily. And I'll explain in a moment why that is. If you exercise and you do cardiovascular exercise when you're not already conditioned to do cardiovascular exercise, your body thinks you're being chased, and therefore your cortisol levels go up. Those of you who've listened to my videos, you can go back to some of my old ones when I talk about what stress does, what cortisol does to the body, and how it makes our body very primed to make fat. So certain types of exercise actually make weight loss harder and cause weight gain. The best exercises are those that improve your metabolic status. And the exercises that improve your metabolic status are the ones that build your muscle, that cause toning. So again, calories in, calories out, lower calories, it's content. Maximize your protein, maximize your fiber, decrease your carbohydrates, as particularly those of us who have metabolic issues that cause weight gain. Most people who have easy weight gain, hard weight loss, have some underlying chronic metabolic condition that has gone undiagnosed because we only limit that diagnosis to diabetes or pre-diabetes, unfortunately. So that's why most of us who are walking around gaining weight very easily and becoming a diabetic didn't know, because we're just not tested for it. So that's one. Number two, I talked about calories in, calories out. or dropping calories, increasing exercise. Well, the increasing exercise I explained, dropping calories absolutely is not necessary. I can tell you, as someone who's lost 100 pounds, I eat way more now than I did when I was 100 pounds heavier. I was self-conscious about eating. I didn't eat around people. I didn't, I was always dieting because I knew I was overweight and I was causing me problems, joint problems, back problems, eventually heart problems. But it didn't work. And mainly the reason it doesn't work is because it might work temporarily, but not permanently. And the reason it doesn't work permanently is because your brain does not like it when we starve. Our brain is well honed to stop us from starving. It's honed to keep us alive. Starvation goes against keeping you alive. So when you drop your calories too low, your brain picks it up and immediately drops your metabolism, and it starts storing fat very efficiently. I say it like this. I'll give you an analogy. If you knew that every single day, all day, someone was going to keep handing you money, say $20 bills all day, $100 bills all day, every day, no matter what would you do with that money? You're more likely to spend it because you know that you have the money you need for necessities when it comes, because you know you're going to keep getting money throughout the day. So even if you need money to buy something later, you know you're going to get more money later, so you don't worry about holding on to the money you've got right now. What if you're given money and you're never told when it's coming back? You're never told when you're going to get more. You never know when you're going to get more, because every time you're handed money, you suddenly don't have any more. You're suddenly not given any for long periods of time. And then you might be given money again, but again, you then long periods of time without. What are you most likely to do with that when you hold on to it? You hold on to it for when it's absolutely necessary to spend it. That's what our body does when making fat. And with food, when you starve, your body thinks, oh, okay, I need to store this next meal as fat just in case that starvation happens again. But when you eat on a regular basis, and your body knows and your brain knows it's going to get more fuel, it's going to get more calories, what it does is it just burns it off. It's like, well, I can use it because I don't have to store it, because I know in the next couple of hours I'm going to get some more. So that's why dropping calories is not effective. And even if it is effective, it's only temporary. And I hear this a lot. All I have to do is, in the past, all I did was lose weight. It was easy. All I had to do was XYZ. If the weight comes back, it wasn't successful weight loss. If you had to go to extremes in order for that to happen, it wasn't successful weight loss. It wasn't healthy. If in the process you keep going up and down and yo-yoing, it's not a healthy process. And the reason why yo-yoing is so dangerous and why it's not good is because when you drop, some of that dropping is from losing muscle. So when you go back up, you're gaining fat. And so now you went from being, say, 25% fat, now you're 30%. Your body mass is 30% fat. You drop again, you drop muscle, and then you gain it back. Now you're 40%. And you keep doing that, the body percentage of fat just keeps going up and going up and going up. And what we know is it's not about weight. It's not about how much you weigh on a scale. It's what percentage of body weight is fat that makes the difference. And so going up and down, all that does is increase the percentage of fat in the body. So it's better to have sustainable, ongoing, regular meals so that your brain knows you're going to eat, your brain will burn it off, and it will utilize what you eat for nutrients, for muscle, for bone, for all the different things that your body needs. So that's number 2, calorie deficit. That's the second lie. The third lie is that gaining weight as you get older is inevitable. It's not. The metabolic issues that cause weight gain as we get older is inevitable unless we prevent it, but the weight gain is not. So as we get older, and especially in women, our estrogen drops, and men, their testosterone drops. What that does is it leaves our body cortisol dominant in our metabolic functions. And so when our cortisol is driving our metabolic function, that means our body is now being driven to make fat. What cortisol does in the body is it's a fight or flight, it's a stress hormone. What it does is it tries to push our body towards diabetes. Again, when our body is under stress, our brain thinks, okay, I need to protect this entity. I need to protect this organism, this person. And so the best way to do that is to make sure that I have enough energy stored. So if something happens, we have the energy we need to survive. So when cortisol's high and you're under stress, the brain says, okay, take that food that you're about to eat and make fat out of it. Take any sugar you eat, make fat out of it. Take anything you drink, make fat out of it. And that's why as our estrogen drops, as men, and testosterone drops, both in men and women, our cortisol then starts driving our body to then start making fat. And but that's not inevitable. You can actually prevent it. One, with hormone replacement. So you can prevent it before it starts. You can prevent that metabolic dysregulation before it starts by replacing hormones. The other is and that's both for men and for women. So what that does is it helps you maintain your metabolic status. It stops cortisol from becoming dominant, and you still have everything you need to maintain your muscle mass, because your muscle mass is the metabolic powerhouse of our body. And you don't want to lose muscle. And the only way to lose muscle is to lose the building blocks to make it and the hormones that are required. That's testosterone and protein in our diet. So maintain those two things, and your muscle stays where it is, and your metabolism stays where it is, and you don't have to gain any of that weight, period. Now, once the weight has been gained, it can be lost, but usually it is required, is reversing the metabolic status that your body is in. The earlier you do it, the better. And therefore, muscle is number one. Dropping your cortisol, stress reduction is number two. And then three is hormone replacement, because otherwise the body just stays in its metabolic dysregulatory state. And so I'm just going to say hi to a few people who've come on. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Marsha. Hi. Well, I know who you are, Doc McStuffin, so I'm not going to call you out by your name. Hello, Sharon. And B. Lynn, I'm assuming Lynn is your name. And Demetria, thank you for joining. And Gloria, thank you for joining. So, again, calories in, calories out, lie. Calorie deficit, only way to lose weight, another lie. Weight gain as you get older is inevitable, another lie. And the last one I'm going to talk about, and you all can start getting your questions ready, because right after this, we're going to start taking questions and answering them. The last one after this is that GLP-1 medications, weight loss medications as they're called, is cheating. First of all, they're not weight loss medications. What they do is they treat the cause of weight gain. They treat the metabolic cause of weight gain. Are there other ways of doing it? Yes. Is it easier with a GLP-1? Yes. Does that mean it's cheating? No. That's like saying, is washing your clothes, in a washing machine easier? Yes. Are there other ways you can wash your clothes? Yes. So, but why would you? Why would you wash your clothes in a bucket if you have a washing machine? Then when there's more efficient, easier ways to do things. In any other time in our life, that is what we do. We try the most efficient way and the easiest way to create the situation that we want. Now, the other lie is that it's the easy way. What it is that it's correct. The medication is correcting the metabolic dysregulation that is causing weight gain. So if someone loses weight on a GLP-1, it's because there has to be an underlying metabolic issue for it to treat. And I often say how you lose weight is how you keep it off. How you lose weight is you treat weight loss in the way to reverse how it was gained. So how you gain your weight, then that's how you lose it. And how you lose it is how you keep it off. So if you're using a GLP-1 medication to help you lose weight, more than likely you'll be on it for the rest of your life, unless your metabolic status resets, which is unusual, unless you use muscle. Muscle can reset your metabolic status, and how you develop muscle will determine what happens afterwards. How you develop muscle will also determine what happens towards the end of your process. So again, the lies of weight loss. One, it's not inevitable that you'll gain it back. You can lose it, and it is not from calories in, calories out. It is not from a deficit. It does not work to drop your calories way too low. In fact, it's detrimental, and it sets you up for failure later. It actually sets you up for worse health problems later. Number three, as you get older, it is not inevitable that you have to gain weight. There are ways to prevent it. There are ways to reverse it. And number four, GLP-1 are not cheating when it comes to weight management because they cannot work in a vacuum. There has to be something underlying in order for them to work. And then people say, well, how do I know if I'm somebody who needs a GLP-1? Or how do I know if I'm somebody who has a metabolic issue? And it's, if you're someone where when people say things like, when I was younger, I could, exercise and watch my protein and do all these things, and immediately I would lose weight. But now when I try to do it, it doesn't work. Well, the reason it doesn't work is because your metabolic status has changed. So that means you're going into hormone deficit, which is you're losing your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone, both men and women. And so the only way to get back to where you were when you were younger is to replace those hormones to the levels that they were when you were younger. And this the reason why, if you take a 20-year-old and you take a 40-year-old and you do the exact same exercise, the body will respond differently based on the hormonal levels of each person. Oops, I thought I turned my phone off. Sorry. The one time I decided not to, I forget. Somebody calls me. All right. Sorry about that. So it's really important to understand that as we get older, our body changes, but our body changes because the changes in hormones, and the changes in our hormone also changed our muscle mass, and our muscle mass is really what's driving a lot of the things that were happening. There's other things that cause metabolic dysregulation. Pregnancy is one. A lot of times you'll see women who say, I can't get rid of my baby weight. Well, it's because having babies puts you in menopause. That's why you stop having periods when you're pregnant. It's basically the exact same thing. It's the reason we check for diabetes at 20 weeks. It's because pregnancy causes metabolic dysregulation. So sometimes your body does not reset back to its normal setting, or its like factory settings, as they say, after the baby's born. Because once your body gets a taste of it, it wants to stay there. And so often it takes more to get back to where you were. And so muscle is number one way of working on it, lowering cortisol, metabolic, meditation, mindfulness, Pilates, yoga, all of those things, hypnosis, all those things can help lower your cortisol. And then the third, of course, is medication if you need it. So if you have questions, I think I see a question in here. If so, we'll talk about it. We say, hello, Denise. Hello from Pennsylvania. Cindy says, I'm 63, weigh 350 plus pounds, have extremely high fasting insulin. Okay, so that means you're insulin resistant, which means your body thinks you're diabetic, even if it doesn't show it. I'm currently on Manjaro 5 milligrams and getting 100 grams of protein a day, but the insulin is still high. Any ideas on what else I can do? Keep maximizing your Manjaro dose. You're not even close to the maximum dose. Manjaro goes up to 15 milligrams. Talk to your doctor. Whoever's prescribing your Manjaro, talk to them about your dose. It's a dose-dependent medication. If your insulin levels are high, the medication will also raise your insulin. However, if your insulin levels are high because your blood sugars are high, as your Manjaro dose goes up, so your insulin levels will start to come down. Those fasting insulin levels being high won't matter if you maximize your metabolic status in other ways. So the medication is one way. Dropping your cortisol is another. If you're at 63, you're just kind of outside of the window on starting hormone replacement therapy if you haven't already, but it may help. And then the other is muscle. Building muscle will help. Pilates in your case would probably go a long way. It's very gentle on joints. It's very gentle on muscle building. And when I say, I'm not saying it like you're old, because I'm only 3 years younger, to be honest. I'm 60, so it's not that 63 is old or anything, but you don't want to overdo it. So, that's another lie, that once you're at a certain age, you can no longer lose weight. That's a big lie. I mean, I've helped people in their 70s and 80s lose weight, and they've done absolutely well. So, hi, Yolanda from Brooklyn. Hey, Cousin Kelly, how are you? How do we drop cortisol? Well, I say, okay, so cortisol is our fight or flight, one of our fight or flight reaction medications. It happens during stress. And and generally it's supposed to help you when you need to fight, and then it comes back down. Sometimes it stays high. And like I said, it stays unopposed during menopause. So first of all, you block its effect. And the number one way to block its effect is to make sure that the hormones that balance it out are there. So that means making sure that your hormones are replaced if you're going into perimenopause or menopause. That's number one. The other is block the effects of cortisol on the organs of your body, like your liver, like your pancreas and your heart and other places. GLP-1 medications will do that. Primarily, it would be the tirzepatide because it has a GIP component. Tirzepatide is better with someone who has high cortisol in their system because of a high stress life or high stress situations. Then the next thing to do is to prevent cortisol's your reaction to whatever's causing you stress. So that means usually therapy, meditation are all things that will help you when you're presented with a stressful situation. So that means shoring up your coping mechanism, being adaptable, being flexible, and learning different coping mechanism skills. But ultimately, the best way to drop cortisol is to get rid of the stressors. And that means planning. That means, creating systems. That means maximizing the people that are around you, the systems that are around you. And so what that also means is that you learn skills on how to keep it down. Deep yoga breathing, meditation, self-hypnosis, all these things will bring cortisol down. What you don't want to happen is you get to a point where you have no choice. I'm in that situation. I have no choice but to keep my cortisol levels down. If I do not stay calm, if I do not stay unbothered, my heart reacts. And I've learned that the hard way more than once. And so you just learn, you learn rather quickly what's really important. It's like, is it really important to be right now? Nope. Is it really that important to get angry over something that happened that you have no control over? Nope. Learning coping mechanisms are the best way of keeping your cortisol levels down. And there are lots of different YouTube videos on how to cope, how to, learn how to develop that muscle. It is a muscle that has to be worked on, and it gets easier and easier over time. It's like any skill. You start off, it's a little awkward, it's more difficult, and the more and more you do it, the easier and easier it gets. How much do you think stress effect on cortisol levels affect weight loss effectiveness? Absolutely, they're tied together. Rita, the stress and cortisol, the cortisol from stress is what cortisol does in the body. It goes to the pancreas and it tells the pancreas make insulin. And when the body makes insulin, what that tells the body is take what I've just eaten and turn it to fat. That's how we make fat in the body, with insulin. And so cortisol tells the body make fat. And so that's why we gain weight through the middle as cortisol becomes more prominent, either because of menopause, because of menopause, or because of stress. And so they're absolutely tied together. And so if you're trying to lose weight and you're not focused and you're not also addressing your stress levels, it's going to be so much harder. And the other thing that happens when your cortisol is high is that your muscles, the one metabolic powerhouse that really fights against weight gain, is now fighting with this process that's trying to push all that you eat to fat rather than giving fuel to your muscles. So your muscles stop working as efficiently. And that's why also cortisol affects our immune system. You get sick more. It affects your DNA. You age faster. It causes high cholesterol. It causes roughening of blood vessels. So when your cholesterol is up, it's more likely to get heart attacks. There's just a lot of things that cortisol does that's bad. I actually have a video. I have several videos because I talk about this a lot. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Dr. Toomer or at Dr. Toomer. If you go there, you will find the videos on that, and I go into it in a lot more detail. What if you're taking anastrozole for chemo pill? It takes the estrogen out of your body, which makes it hard to lose weight. What can I do to lose weight? Okay. The only thing you can do is, one, focus on your health. You're right. That's because if you have a hormone sensitive cancer, which isn't very common, but when it happens, it's more important to prevent that than it is to worry about replacing your estrogen. The only way to lose weight, if you need to and if you want to, is with muscle. You just got to create a dedicated time and dedicated effort to muscle building. That's the only thing that's going to work. That's it. And maintaining stress, keeping your stress levels down. And so learning meditation, learning mindfulness, learning how to breathe in a way so that you stay calm, learning how to adapt, learning how to become unbothered. When my insulin level is normal as per my doc, I have put on a lot of weight, having trouble losing weight. Any tips? I have knee trouble waiting to get a new knee. What can I do to recommend start on a journey? Okay, so what I would recommend is find someone to help you who understands physiology very well and the physiology of weight gain. Insulin level are one of those things, they fluctuate all day. So someone telling you that your insulin levels are normal doesn't mean anything, because they may have been normal at that moment, but that doesn't mean they're normal all the time. It doesn't mean it doesn't shoot up. So, and also it depends on your weight history in the past. If you're somebody who would go up and down a lot, like I said earlier, if you're constantly gaining, losing, constantly gaining, losing, constantly gaining, losing, or losing and then gaining it back, losing, gaining it back, more than likely you've lost a lot of muscle and your metabolic status has suffered. Muscle, 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 and more muscle. Pilates, if you cannot do weight bearing, Pilates is a very good muscle building activity. But the other is your GLP-1. If you are over, if your BMI is over 27 with comorbidities or over 30, or if your A1C is over 6.5, you are eligible for, unless your insurance covers weight loss medications, then you're eligible. But you are someone that GLP-1s are designed for, to help when there's secondary issues because of weight, like knees, difficulty with knee trouble, back, low back, other weight bearing joint issues. So, but medication, like I said, and also meals, like the 3 M's, as I say: meals, protein forward, fiber forward. Meditation, mindfulness, get your cortisol levels down. And 3 is medication if necessary. Yolanda says, thank you. I'm always tense. Can you suggest a way to start meditation? The best way to start meditation is just learning how. So what I would suggest is going to YouTube and learning how to, and just finding something that resonates with you. You can say meditation videos, or you can even put in there how to drop my cortisol. There'll be videos that will pop up. I'll probably actually start doing that. I'm actually certified in hypnotherapy. So it's not, and when people hear hypnosis and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going ding, ding. No, that's not how hypnosis works. What it does is it simply helps you relax to the point where you get out of your own way. And so I should probably start doing some videos. But the easiest way to reduce cortisol is with yoga breathing, meditative breathing. And basically what it is you take a deep breath in, 4 counts. But when you take your breath in, your stomach should go out. We have this bad habit of breathing and sucking in. It should be the opposite. So you breathe in with your belly going out. You hold for 7. As long as you don't have any lung issues, you should be able to hold that for 7 counts, and then you let it out slowly in 8 counts. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you just keep doing that until you relax. And you try to empty your mind if you can. If you're in a dark room, even better. If you're in a quiet place, even better. I would not recommend, you can even do this while driving. It will not put you to sleep. You can do it in your office. You often hear people say, woosah. That's essentially the same thing. It's just a miniature version of the same thing. Or people say, when you get angry, count to 10. Same thing. It's all to bring you down and to bring you down your cortisol. Isabel, hello, Isabel. Oh, you're welcome, Lynn. Yolanda, you're very welcome. Yes, cortisol. The human body is a fascinating thing. I love physiology and anatomy and physiology. Our bodies are such miracles. When you realize all the biochemical, microbiological, and all the electrical and all the things that happen in this, to develop and then to survive and then to live and grow, and that it is just fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating. I had to go to med school. How else was I going to, I just love how the body functions. And the more I learn, the more I love it. Valerie says, I am already taking Ozempic for weight loss due to diabetes. I have continued taking it. Okay. If not, how do I keep the weight off after stopping it? Okay. First of all, if you have diabetes, you never stop it. First of all, you have 2 chronic diseases. If you have obesity, that's one type of chronic disease. That's one metabolic chronic disease. And diabetes is another type of chronic diabetes disease. They're actually on the same continuum. Weight gain, chronic weight gain is here. diabetes is here. They're on the same plane, same continuum. So, and so they're both insulin dependent chronic diseases and that affect how we metabolize carbohydrates. You will never come off of the medication. You should never come off the medication. You're not taking Ozempic for weight loss if you're also a diabetic. You're taking it to correct your metabolic issues for both. If you lose weight in the process, that's fine, because weight loss is simply a symptom of the medication. It's just a symptom of the correction of the disease state. Just like weight gain is just a symptom of the disease state. So weight loss is just secondary. We keep talking about weight loss when actually, one, it should be fat loss. Weight, if you're losing weight and muscle, that's not good weight loss. So it's fat loss. You should be focusing on fat loss only and maintaining muscle. The other is you cannot stop it unless you have muscle that will take over. Muscle is the only thing that can take over for the medication. And most of us can't build muscle to the point where that happens, mainly because the muscle is also fighting against that same metabolic issue. So they're not very efficient. The only of the GLP-1s that help when stress is a huge component, a huge contributor, is tirzepatide or Zepbound or Mounjaro. That's now. There is another what's called triple G that's coming out, retatrutide, I think is how it's pronounced. It's still in the trial phases with Eli Lilly. It should probably, I don't think it's going to be out anytime this year, but you never know. Everything that's changing so rapidly, it could be out sooner than I think. Cindy, does meal timing make a difference? 6 mini meals versus 3 large meals. The only reason the meals, not the timing, is the size of the meals. Larger meals causes larger sugar spikes. Smaller meals cause smaller sugar spikes. Sugar spikes or blood glucose spikes are what cause fat production. And it depends on the content of those meals. If anytime you have a meal or a snack, the carbohydrate component of that should be 25% or less. So 1/4, you have a plate, an imaginary plate, you cut it into 4. 3 of those should be vegetables and protein and vegetables, and 1 carbohydrates or starches. So it really just depends on the content and the size. So one of those mini meal things that came about was really for men doing muscle building, but and also it just, like I said, it depends on the content. Hello, Aunt Cynthia. Thank you for watching. Patsy from Lawrenceville, Georgia, not too far from me. Hello. Any more questions? Well, there's no more questions. I will plug it again. Just please subscribe to my YouTube channel because so that you can get updated whenever I post videos. I am starting to post videos in between my Tuesday talks. So there's others that are there that aren't from Tuesday. And then you are and then, you're welcome to ask me questions under those videos as well, and I will answer. I see them, I get notified, so I will answer those questions. Deborah Muhammad asks, are pendulum GLP-1? Okay, pendulum. I'm not familiar. Is that a name? Because pendulum is not a name of any of the medications for GLP-1s. However, what are pendulum? GAP1. Are you saying is it GLP-1? I'm not familiar with that. What pill is good for weight loss and stress? They're GLP-1 pills. Ashwagandha is probably one of the most natural and the one that's most common that people use. Berberine is another that can be used. Ashwagandha for stress, berberine for weight loss, and they're basically for sugar regulation and cortisol regulation. And so, and then you have GLP-1 medication pills, which are Ribelsis is one. Then there's compounded versions of tirzepatide and semaglutide as well, which is basically Wegovy or um, Zepbound. But the only pill version of a GLP-1 is on that's FDA approved is Ribelsis. We said, so GLP-1, are there GLP-1 tablets? Yes. So that was Dorothy's question as well. So yes, GLP-1 tablets can be used, but I mean, I think I answered that question. If I didn't answer that question, just ask me. Just tell me you didn't understand or whatever, because I didn't explain that very well. Linda said, is low carb best for insulin resistance? Low carb is best, yes, for everything. Carbohydrates are the least important meal component for our diet. Yes, we need it for brain function. Yes, we need it for connective tissue here and there, but mostly we need protein. Protein is probably one of the most important components of what we can eat. Protein and vitamins and minerals. Then fiber, which helps keep us regular, helps maintain our gut biome, as they say, our gut bacteria, which is also what is considered our body's second brain. But for insulin resistant, low carb is the best. The absolute best thing for insulin resistance is building muscle. Building muscle, dropping cortisol. Cortisol causes insulin resistance. If you don't have insulin resistance and you go and you're in a high stress situation, you become insulin resistant. If you have insulin resistant and you're in a high stress situation, you become pre-diabetic. If you are pre-diabetic and you're in a high stress situation, you become diabetic. And if you're already diabetic and you're under stress, that diabetes gets worse. So stress reduction, I cannot stress this enough. No pun intended. Stress reduction is highly important and one of the most overlooked aspect of health improvement that there is, not just for weight, but health in general. And muscle is a wonderful way of reducing it. Muscle gives off, apart from it being a huge metabolic powerhouse, it also gives off what are called cytokines. It gives off little chemicals every time you activate them. And when they give off those little chemicals do a lot of things. They're antidepressants. They are they're like antidepressant mood stabilizers. They are also regulatory things that flow through the body that do a whole bunch of stuff that we still don't even understand. But they do help in a lot of different ways. So activating muscles is important, and doing that daily is even more important. Do I prescribe oral GLP-1s much? Yes, I have. Are they as effective as the injections? The jury's still out. Now, the few times I've done the prescriptions, the side effects were so bad that the people stopped them. Mainly, they cause a lot of nausea. And they're hard to microdose. You can't adjust the dose when it's not a liquid. It's really hard. Injections are the most effective. That is the one that has actually been approved by the FDA and studied by the pharmaceutical companies for weight management. And it is absolutely the most effective way of taking medication. Are more side effects due to higher doses? Not necessarily. Sometimes the higher dose, the side effects are often because, weight loss is one of the side effects. So yes, one of that side effect does go up with dose. However, the nausea and the rest, it really just depends on behavior. Sometimes it goes up because of dehydration, the nausea. The side effects get worse because of lack of protein or not eating enough. There's lots of different things. So the best thing to do is, this is why it is so important. So important that when you are taking medication, that you are under the care of someone who's knowledgeable about the medication, not just someone who's trying to make money off of it. I mean, someone who's knowledgeable. So a physician who is trained in metabolic diseases, endocrinology, family medicine, something that diabetes and treating diabetes, always, always stay under someone's care. Any medication outside of a physician's care is dangerous, and these medications are no different. They're wonderful and they're very safe as long as they're used properly. And the only time they're used properly is if you know, and these are years of study. This isn't just from, oh, I just learned how to use a GLP-1. No, this is from years and years and years of study. And it's not just enough to help people lose weight, give them medication. It's what to do if something dangerous happens. It's to recognize if something dangerous is coming down the pike, because nothing happens without first signals. And if those signals are ignored or you don't know what they are, they just get worse, and then it becomes a problem. Is intermittent fasting best for insulin resistance? Intermittent fasting it's an exercise in discipline. It doesn't really do a whole lot. It does affect, there are studies that show it affects your insulin levels, that fasting does drop your insulin levels. That's not even a question. But the question is how much do you have to fast to get your insulin levels down? Insulin resistance is okay. So fasting does not help insulin resistance on a cellular level, because what insulin resistance is that the cell won't let insulin work and won't get the key of insulin into the keyhole. It just blocks. That's the resistance. What intermittent fasting does, it just kind of makes the insulin go away. So yeah, in that regard, but it protects it from this side. It doesn't affect the real problem, which is the cell surface. That's where insulin resistance happens. Fasting does not change that. It just changes the insulin that's trying to get in. Elizabeth Cousin said, this is a great honor. Actually, the honor is mine. I actually find this, I really enjoy this, and I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you listening. I do not take it for granted. Is the GLP-1 patch as effective as the injection? There's no such thing. Anyone who's trying to sell you a GLP-1 patch is basically selling you snake oil. There's no such thing as a GLP-1 patch. And even if someone's figured out how to create a GLP-1 patch, it is not tested. It is not FDA approved. And you have no idea what you're getting or what you're putting into the delivery system onto your skin. That's just the truth of it. There's no such thing. Not a real one anyway. Is it true to lose weight while insulin resistant? Intermittent fasting works best? Not necessarily. The best way to lose weight with insulin resistance is treating the cause of the insulin resistance, and that is by a medication that opens the cell that allows the insulin to get used properly, and that's GLP-1. Diabetes. I mean, insulin resistance is just the low end of the same continuum as diabetes, so you treat it just like diabetes. So, I mean, insulin resistance. Okay, type 1 diabetes is what we call it when your body doesn't produce insulin and you have to give yourself insulin injections. Type 2 diabetes is when your body produces insulin, but your body cannot use that insulin. And that's usually adult onset, but we're seeing it in children a lot more now too. Insulin resistance is now being called type 3 diabetes. It is diabetes. It's just a lower end of the diabetes scale. So you treat it just like diabetes, and you act like it is diabetes, and you eat like it is diabetes, and you exercise like it is diabetes, and you use medication like it is diabetes. It is the reason that diabetes medicines correct weight gain. It's insulin resistance is diabetes on a lower scale. It's why it causes weight gain. Treating it with diabetes medication is the reason why you get weight loss. If that's not proof enough, I don't know what is. Well, the science is proven also, not just that. So there is the science behind it. So And I know we get a lot of questions about GLP-1s, and people are asking a lot about that. The sad thing is that there's a lot of social commentary around GLP-1s as if they're such this bad thing. There are a lot of medications that people are taking that are far more dangerous. There are a lot of medications that are over the counter that are actually more dangerous. There are a lot of medications that people are taking that do the same thing, that nobody cares about. No one cared about GLP-1s when we were using them for the last 20 years for diabetics. I've been prescribing GLP-1s for over 15 years. Nobody cared about them until Ozempic came out and people started using it for weight management. So what that tells me is that it has nothing to do with the medication and everything to do with the fact that people do not like other people getting access to that social currency of weight loss. And the goal is not to be thin. Remember this. The goal is not to be thin. I had this one doctor, Dr. Renty, say, a fat body or a heavy body is not a failed thin body. Health does not have a size. Thinness does not mean healthy. Being overweight does not mean unhealthy. All these medications do is correct a metabolic condition. And if that metabolic condition caused your weight gain, then it will give weight loss when used. Hey, nephew, I see you standing in your position. I thank you so much for giving my sister her while she can smell them. Y'all out. Somebody accidentally, I think, thought they were putting that somewhere else. I think it was a misplaced comment. Any other questions? I know this is running a bit long. I try to keep this under an hour. I actually try to keep it under 30 minutes, but you guys have some really good questions and I don't mind answering them. So if there are any others, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, you can put them in the comments after the videos. You can go through the videos. There's over 200. And earlier videos, I wasn't as good about, oh, I don't know what that did. Oh, there we go. I accidentally put yours up on the screen. So awesome session again. Thanks, Dr. Toomer. Bye, everyone. Loved it. Good rest of the week. Oh, thank you, Marcia, for coming. If there's no more questions, or if you think of something later, like I said, just go into the comments, leave them a message, then I will see them. And then if you can go through the videos, I have to say I wasn't as good with the earlier videos about putting hashtags, so it's not easy to search. But if you look at the titles, there should be a way to find them. All right. Good night, everyone.